think I just partially answered that question. I think the answer is no. But then it's a bit of a broad brush to say no system has survived in the past, in the sense that even the Roman Empire, even the other systems that you mentioned, the Egyptian system, they weren't systems in the same way, I think, that were sort of consistent over time. If you take a situation that is well known to people in Italy, fascism had many different aspects and changed as it moved, even in a period of about 20 years. And so you could say, well, did fascism, was it successful or not? Well, that would be very difficult to answer. I mean, from a moral point of view, you would say, no, it was a disaster. But from an economic point of view, it sort of moved through phases where it seemed to be improving things and then turned out to be a disaster and so forth. But just to say, will this system survive? What the question really is, will it be a revolutionary change? Will we really have to rethink the fundamental ways in which our economy works? Is that what's going to be at stake? And I think that's exactly what is at stake. We have to make a fundamental change in our way of thinking of things, and not say when we get back to normal and when we get back to the standard situation, then as long as we keep saying that, we're saying the system will somehow survive. You know, the system, we have to tweak it a bit, we have to change it a bit, but sometimes systems go through real upheavals. And of course, all the systems you mentioned went through real upheavals, but in a long period of time. And now we're going to go through an upheaval, I think, in a shorter period of time. And the question is, how well will we handle that? And for the moment, all those people who talk about, well, let's get back to normal. Normal is not going to be the same anymore. And so we will have to, I think, hope that the system will change sufficiently that we will be in a system where we're more resilient, where we react to what's going on, but where we don't think that we have the answers. I think we don't have many answers, and we have to be much more modest about that. But we also have to confess that to the people we're faced with. So we can't say we have the answer. And you saw this in the handling of the pandemic. You know, we know the answers. We know that masks are not useful. And then we're told masks are absolutely essential, and so forth. And this goes on and becomes a sort of almost a silly game of saying that the technical people, that we're relying on the science. But you're not relying on the science because things keep changing. We didn't know enough about COVID to know what the science said. So I think I saw a silly quote, which is actually rather nice. Somebody said, well, if masks work, why do we have to have social distancing? But if social distancing works, why do we have to have masks? And if masks and social distancing work, why do we have to have a lockdown? And so that sounds sort of, you know, an interesting question. But then somebody came back with a wonderful response. He said, well, if seatbelts work, why do we have to have airbags in cars? But if airbags work, why do we have to have seatbelts? And if seatbelts and airbags work, why do we have to have brakes? And I think that's exactly the situation that we're in. You know, at each point in time, we find out that what we thought of was a solution turns out not to be quite a solution. Now we will be told, and we are being told, as soon as we find a vaccine, then the problem will be solved and we'll be all back to normal. But that's not true either, because as we know that a large percentage of people now actually refuse vaccines. And 1/4 of the people interviewed in the United States on the subject said they would not accept to be vaccinated against COVID. So even if we found a vaccine which was efficient, we're going to be faced with the anti-vaxxers, as they're called. And these guys, if they don't accept the vaccine, that won't be a solution. So we're always looking for neat solutions, and the vaccine would be a neat solution. But in general, neat solutions don't turn out to be so neat and not necessary to be even solutions.